me take a look at this Joe Rogan video that you had put in my Discord, my members only Discord. That's available for $2 a month as long as you link your Discord. That you could find the link in the bio for. Oh, that's interesting. Joe and Lex react to number one cause of obesity in genetics. Interesting.
The Joe Rogan
Let's see what we got here.
Experience.
Did you see that lady on 60 Minutes? They interviewed her. She's some new woman who works in the White House, and they asked her about obesity. She said the number one cause of obesity is genetics.
Is that true? Cause of obesity is. Why would that be? I wonder. Because I feel like the number one cause of obesity is like bad eating habits. Even in a obesogenic environment, not everyone becomes obese before the. Wait, interesting. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. This is interesting. Even in an obesogenic environment, I think it's how you say it, is an environment that causes obesity. Not everyone becomes obese before the genomic research era. Studies of family members, twins, and adoptees offered indirect scientific evidence that a sizable portion of the variation in weight among adults is due to genetic factors. That's so interesting. But, like, what a broad thing to say. Okay. So, like, are we talking about genetics as in, like, our genetic predisposition to eat more stress-wise, or maybe it's just like a culmination of a bunch of factors? What an interesting thing to say. I mean, what an interesting thing to say. Okay.
And it doesn't matter what you do. Like you could be a person who has a perfect diet and exercises and sleeps right, and you're still obese.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's probably not true.
Trunks the Goon super chatted $4.99. Can you check out the Law Ledge channel? He talks about the 411 cases and mysteries.
Maybe, yeah. Let me check this out first.
Like, that's not what the data shows. The data shows that most people who are obese have obese parents, and they come from an obese family, but they're all doing the wrong thing. It's not. There's not like a person in that family that's.
I could understand if you're talking about genetics from an obese perspective, maybe, like I said, predisposition to eating, or the way that like fat distributes itself, or maybe like some people are probably higher resistant to the negative impacts of bad food, which leads to if you have lower resistance to bad food, maybe you become obese like quicker because your energy levels get disrupted. But I feel like ultimately, Destiny covered this as well. I feel like ultimately it has to do with like your bad eating, right?
Eating grass-fed steak and running marathons and lifting weights and getting up at 6 in the morning and getting in a cold plunge, doing all these different things, but it's still fat as fuck.
Yeah.
And they're watching the calories in and calories out, and they're burning 1,000 calories a day in exercise, and they're still fat as fuck. That's not real. Like, to say that and to say it on 60 Minutes, there's this weird thing going on where people want to say it's not your fault, and it isn't your fault. I mean, if you believe in determinism, if you believe in the impact of the people around you and the environment that you're in, which is most certainly real, the impact of your parents, the impact of modeling, you're modeling after other people's bad decision-making.
Sure, yeah.
That's all real. That's 100% real. But to say that all obesity is just genetic is bonkers.
Yeah, there's personal accountability. It's just hard. I mean, like, I'm trying to make it's hard, and the information out there is hard too, because like the problem is we don't have a lot of people who used to be fat that are now healthily skinny, right? Like, what did our society do when we started to see a problem with obesity? We created a show that makes it a competition to see how much weight you lose, and if they didn't lose 20 pounds in a week, you got in trouble, right? The way that you're supposed to lose weight. The best way to lose weight is somebody with an eating problem, because if you're obese, you probably have a problem with eating, whether you're probably stress eating or something, is to make really good small steps that you will maintain forever. You don't really need to worry about trying to lose a pound a week, for instance. You don't need to worry about losing a pound a week. What you need to do is worry about keeping that pound off forever, right? So a lot of people will crash diet. What you should do instead is make healthy choices. Go for a 20-minute walk. All right? Don't focus on losing weight. You need to lose weight, but just hear me out. Go for a 20-minute walk every day. Drink water instead. Try to have broccoli or some kind of like fibrous vegetable every meal. Before the meal. You know what I mean? Make all these steps. Park in the back of the parking lot. Take the stairs. Do these like little things, instead of restricting your diet heavily, maybe include things that are good into your diet, like we said before, like those greens. Well, like we said, which are micronutrient dense foods that'll make you full faster. Maybe instead of having ice cream, have a banana. It's these little steps that add up. It doesn't matter if you lose 10 pounds in a month, because a lot of people will crash diet, lose a lot of weight, and gain it back. It's good if you lose a pound or two in a month, though. You develop healthy habits. Losing weight you want to focus on getting healthier instead of losing weight. Because if your primary focus is weight loss, you'll do anything to lose weight, which may not necessarily be in the healthy way. But if you focus on being healthy, you will lose weight as a consequence to that, if you're overweight, of course, and you'll be healthier in a long-term capacity, right? Yeah.
That's a bonkers thing to say, and it discredits.
But that's the problem, is we haven't been talking about it the right way.
These people that we know that were obese, that without surgery lost all that weight and looked great, like Ethan Suplee. Perfect example. There was a guy that was at one point in time like 500 plus pounds, right? How big was Ethan when he at his biggest? But anyway, Jamie will find out. Documented all of it, did it publicly because he was a fucking star. He's a famous actor. Lost all the weight, now looks great, and did it through exercise and discipline, and even like was really open about the fact that he gained a lot of it back a couple times. He went from 550 to 255. He did that. Wow. He did that himself. I mean, he did it, and he documented it, and he had to go through surgery to get the skin removed so that his he wasn't like a flying squirrel, but he did it. And to say that it's all genetic. Like, no, he had the same genes. Like, this is the same guy. It's not.
And it's also not inspiring.
Yes.
So, like, to say that...
there needs to be, like, a balance of understanding that it's not easy versus, because of systemic issues, like, really unhealthy foods, processed, like, sugars and all this other stuff, and, like, a shitty FDA and bad food education, bad exercise education as you're young. Acknowledging the systemic issues while understanding that you still have, like, you're the only one that can control the situation, right? We just shouldn't bully people for failing, because you're going to take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back if you're trying to lose weight. Like, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to have ebbs and flows. It's like a big deal. A big part of it is that you can't lose hope just because you have like a bad month or whatever. There's a lot of different aspects to it that you have to be cognizant of.
But that's the tension. If you say it's all genetic or it's significantly genetic, then you're encouraging people to be more accepting of the challenges of other people's lives. Like, your life might be... everybody's walking a hard road is basically the philosophical thing. That you don't... Just because it's easy for you to exercise doesn't mean it's easy for others to exercise.
Sort of. But aren't they also saying you don't even have to walk that road because it's not going to help you?
Exactly. So that's
the problem is that you're saying that there's nothing you can do about it.
Statement of that. It's a trade-off. I mean, it's a different philosophy. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Right.
It's a really inspiring, powerful, empowering philosophy. But it's like, sometimes it's harder.
You can't say that because different people have different. Some people don't even have fucking shoes. Yeah. Like, the idea of pull yourself up by your bootstraps is stupid. And I did it. Why didn't you? No, you did it with your life. The idea that I
think that the concept of picking yourself up by your bootstraps is great. It's just not everybody everybody has a different level of stress. So, like, let's say me and someone else, unless the only difference between us is that I make 3 times as much money as they do. Okay. And I was like, I'm really fat. I was able to pick myself up by my bootstraps. Why can't you? And it's like, well, because I make enough money so that I can eat whatever I want, even healthier foods that might be more expensive. I have the access to a doctor to give me medication, which is a huge deal. Getting on the right insulin and different medications will increase your energy level because it will rebalance you and make it easier for you to lose weight. I have access to, like, money for a gym, the gas, and a nice car to get to the gym, because it could be hard to walk outside when it's cold as fuck, right? There's all these different factors. So it's different. It's easier for different people to do different things. I know that's incredibly simple, but that's the reality. You do kind of have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps to an extent. As we try to change the system for the better. But yeah, I mean, that's the difference.
Life, because it was difficult, is exactly the same as somebody else's life, which may be more difficult or have insurmountable obstacles that are in the way.
Eating less doesn't cost more, though. No, you're correct. What you have to understand is that, like, obviously, if you just eat less, you'll be better off 100%. Let's say you're eating 3,000 calories of Taco Bell every day. If you eat 2,000 instead, you're going to lose weight, probably, right? You're probably maintaining at 3,000. The problem is it's not that simple. We're not computers. So there's like a hunger factor, for instance, right? That's why when I said before, like, counting calories is objectively the best metric to lose weight, obviously. The problem is that fat people with bad relationship with food are just not going to count calories. They're going to stress out about it, and they're going to spiral the second that they do a bad job doing it. That's why I said before, what you need to do is you need to focus on things like inclusive diets instead of restrictive diets if the restrictive diets don't work for you, right? Including vegetables before the shitty meal you're going to eat because you'll be more full. Including supplements, I was going to say, well, a multivitamin is a great idea, but including water into your diet, including a banana instead, even before your ice cream, to fill you up a little bit. And, like have that banana a half hour, wait a half hour. If you still want the ice cream, maybe have a little bit of it, but you might actually get that sweet craving taken away from you, right? Because those cravings are addictive, right? And that's like a problem. That's one of the problems, right? There's all these different factors that are in there. Include like whole wheat into your diet. That's what it is, right?
There's also like different temperaments, different mental fortitude that people are just, for whatever reason, from the womb have. Some people are just determined from the time they're really young, and some people are just
finding new coping mechanisms are good too. It's hard to some of it's hard only because like if you think about it, like food is the only addiction that you have to maintain. Like if you are addicted to crack, and I'm not saying that like, I would rather be addicted to food than crack, but you get my point. You stop doing crack and like okay cool, but you don't stop eating food, right? So you're kind of always like taunted by some kind of a food choice. That's the problem, right? And I know this sounds silly, but sometimes eating healthy, if you're used to eating like shit, it makes you feel like ugh, disgusting. Like it almost hurts your stomach. I know it sounds so weird, but your body's just not used to it. There's like a lot of aspects here,
Not. Some people are discouraged easily, and some people are not, and I don't know why. Yeah. But to say that there's no way is crazy. To say there's no way is like that's irresponsible. Yeah, and it's also like to say that and just put it on 60 Minutes. Hey guys, that's not true. And you can talk to a lot of people that have lost weight and they'll tell you it's not true. It doesn't mean that the people who are obese didn't get a really bad hand, genetically, a really bad hand in terms of the environment they grew up with.
This is like the perfect way to talk about the fat conversation, by the way. It's pretty dope.
They got dealt a bad hand, no doubt. It's not the same as someone who grows up in a house where everybody's skinny and the fucking whole family runs. Like, no, it's not going to be the same. For someone who's eating organic and the whole family like does a lot of exercise and does stuff together, they're going to be thinner. Yeah. But it's like
that's another thing too. If you have overweight kids, you got to exercise with your kid. But we don't talk about that enough either, So pretty based.
You can't lie, and you can't be you can't expect me to think that you're really an expert when you say things like that.
Yeah, but you also can't criticize Bill Gates by saying he has a soft body.
Of course you can.
Of course you're being a comedian, but
he does. And if he's talking about health, hey buddy, get your house in order first.
I know what he's referring to, and I got this really wrong, by the way, because I criticized Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was talking about how Bill Gates was talking about the Impossible Burgers, the plant-based foods, and he's like, you should be taking health advice from somebody that looks like Bill Gates, which is fucking based. And I was like, no, it's ridiculous. It's healthier. Those Impossible Burgers aren't healthier. They're full of like carb fillers, and they have the same preservatives as like some kind of a fast food burger does. Like it's really, if it is a better choice, it's barely a better choice. It's health ignorance. So it's like, damn, like, yeah, it was a good criticism he gave of Bill Gates. I'm just saying, it's the truth. So, it's based, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, he can criticize that. It's true. It's true. I'd say Joe Rogan's probably like the best non-fat person to talk about weight loss from a fat perspective. Like he's fucking based as hell,
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of incredible doctors that don't have their house in order.
That's true. But if you're giving health advice, one of the core components to health is your metabolic health, your overall metabolic health.
Put up this story right out of the gate. They're talking about using the drug, that semaglutide stuff we've been
no.
talking about.
Is that what they're doing? So this is like an ad for semaglutide?
I'm not saying that, but that's what it seems like.
Oh my
There's even like the whole thing about the shortages of it.
Talking about.
So I think Huberman was discussing this. He might have been discussing this with Peter Attia, and they were discussing that semaglutide doesn't just make you lose fat, but also makes you lose muscle in many cases. And that's probably because you're not taking in enough food, right? Because what it's doing is I'm just guessing. There might be some other mechanisms involved, obviously. But if you're like full quicker, which is the idea behind this stuff, it's almost like you're taking an injection that does the same thing as like a belly band. If you're not.
So quick looking into what semaglutide is, it says that it is injection in a class of medications called incretin, whatever. It works by helping the pancreas to release the right amount of insulin when blood sugar levels are high. Insulin helps. Oh, interesting. I mean, that sounds good. You shouldn't need to have a dependence on this. You probably have a blood sugar problem. But that's interesting. Rather than taking your own insulin, you have this that would regulate your body's insulin intake. Okay, interesting. All right, cool.
Not eating enough food. and you're losing fat that quickly, you might be losing muscle too. Like, because when people go on like binge diets, they starve themselves, they lose muscle. Like when guys lose weight for fights and they get down to a very minimalistic, very minimal calorie input, they lose muscle too. Like when someone cuts themselves down from like 205 and fights at 170, 100% they're going to lose some muscle too.
Yeah, but there's interesting. So for fighting is different, but there's if you're doing it in a healthy way, for your own personal life, there might be some strength training combined. I mean, that's a really interesting dynamics, right? How do you lose weight while maintaining muscle mass?
Well, when it comes to people that are athletes, so they're on gear, so it makes it they can cut faster. There's some medication, I think it's like Anavar. I might be wrong about the steroid, but that'll help you maintain muscle while losing weight like pretty fast. So that's something else to keep in mind. That for context.
Well, it depends on how many calories you're burning. Much of the weight loss resulting from GLP-1 agonists is the loss of muscle, bone mass, and other lean tissue rather than body fat. Holy shit.
That's dark.
For example, a 2021, but at least you look good.
Okay. I'm gonna look at the 60 minutes segment. There's actually two segments. Should I look at the recognizing treating obesity as a disease or promoting new weight loss medication source supply and not often covered enough? Let's watch the short clip. That's what Destiny did. We're going to steal the content. Let's see.
It's a brain disease.
It is?
It's a brain disease. And the brain tells us how much to eat and how much to store.
Dr. Fatima Cody Stanford, an
Maybe,
obesity
sure,
doctor
okay.
at Mass General Hospital, an associate professor at Harvard Medical School, says common beliefs about obesity are all wrong.
It is your turn to get on that scale.
Dude, this is like that's what I was talking about before. Those types of game shows promote like a really bad culture when it comes to dieting and losing weight in a healthy way, in a long-term sustainable way, rather than like that's like a short-term loss. And a lot of these people just didn't maintain it, and they became very unhealthy and malnourished because of the way that they did it. And especially since like they would film, like let's say it was one episode a week, that doesn't mean that they're doing filming once a week. So there was times where everybody wasn't losing weight because there had only been 3 days, but they had to film. So it was 3 days. Like, oh, you only lost 5 pounds, but they'd make it seem like it's a week or two since the weigh-in. Boom, 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 boom. You see how that? And then sometimes you'd get like, oh, like over a week and a half. Oh shit, this guy lost so much weight in the week and a half. Oh, well, but like you think it's all week by week, right? It's so interesting.
And diet shows, like The Biggest Loser,
You lost 128 pounds.
are snookering people.
If you
Snookering.
diet, you lose weight.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
For many of us, we can go on a diet, something like The Biggest
The answer is yes, as long as it's a solid diet. Yeah.
Loser, right? You go and you restrict people, you make them work out for 10 hours a day, and then you feed them 500 calories.
Yeah, it's
For
terrible,
most people, they will acutely lose weight.
Everybody will lose weight eating 500 calories a day and working out all day, but you will be exhausted and unhealthy. So, like, instead, you exercise for 20 minutes. Go for that walk and try to eat better. Yeah.
But 96% of those participants in The Biggest Loser regained their weight because
True,
their
'cause they're
brain
binge eating.
worked well. It was supposed to bring them back to store what they needed or what the brain thinks it needs.
So willpower,
Throw that out the window. My last patient that I saw today was a young woman who's 39 who struggles with severe obesity. She's been working out 5 to 6 times a week consistently. She's eating very little. Her brain is defending.
I'm just letting you know that like what's happening is just not true. She's not doing enough. Okay. It's not. This is the thing. People don't want to hear this. When you're at an obese weight like myself, it's not hard to lose weight. I'll be so explicitly clear. It's not physically hard to lose weight. You really just have to eat less and move more. But it's just a difficult thing to do with somebody who deals with their problem when you have a very sedentary lifestyle, right? Or you have access to really unhealthy foods and not as much access to like good like other foods. It is easy physically, but it's like difficult mentally. Okay. She's not working out enough those 5 days a week, and she's cheating on her diet. Because all it takes is this. This is something that's such a fat thing to do, and I do it too. You don't eat all day. Or maybe you have small meals throughout the day. And then you go, wow, I did so well today. I'm going to fuck that refrigerator up. And all of a sudden, let's say I lose weight on 3,000 calories a day. And I had a 500 calorie breakfast and a 500 calorie lunch. So I got 2,000 calories left. I'm so hungry. There's nothing. You just start tearing at that refrigerator. All of a sudden, you're walking around the house eating string cheese while you're getting ready for chicken tenders in the fucking air fryer. You know, maybe you cheat a little. You grab a couple of cookies. You pour yourself a nice drink. Maybe you have a beer or a glass of wine. You know, hey, well, you know what sounds good too? French fries, because you're hungry. Okay? All of a sudden, you ate 1,000 calories while you were making dinner, but you don't feel it because it takes a half an hour for your stomach to get full. Now you're sitting down to a 2,000 calorie dinner after a 1,000 calorie snack. You binge eat the fuck out of that, and then you're like, that was really good, but I got a little bit of sweet tooth. And then you know what you do? You go into that freezer and you start fucking scooping ice cream into a bowl, but you gotta lick the spoon. Oh, maybe I'll put some fucking little toppings on there. Rainbow sprinkles. All of a sudden, you just ate 200 calories of ice cream before you're about to sit down and have another 600 calories worth of ice cream. Okay, now you're sick. A half an hour later, you're sick. You're sick. But you felt like you did a good job. And you repeat that process every single fucking day. And that's why you're fat. And that's why I'm fat. And you just have to be aware of those behaviors. You have to be aware of those behaviors. Okay? If you're not losing weight, if that woman is not exercising well 5 days a week, and eating well every single day, and her body's just like, I can't fucking do it. It doesn't work like that. That's a delusional thing. Don't feed into the delusion. You don't have to be mean to the fat person because you know what? She's probably working hard. She probably is exercising, and she's probably trying to eat decently. But you know what another problem is for people? Okay, especially for skinny people, but fat people do this too. They fucking binge eat 2 days a week, and then they don't eat so much the rest of the week. So if you're a skinny person, they'll have like, oh man, I just ate 5,000 calories today, and these motherfuckers don't eat for 2 days, or they snack. They'll eat a fucking 7-course meal on Monday, and then sunflower seeds Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday they'll have a reasonable meal, and then when they go out with their friends, they eat a ton, and they're like, wow, how the fuck are you so skinny? I just have a high metabolism. No, this motherfucker doesn't eat for days at a time. It's just naturally encoded into their fucking weird brain. Meanwhile, if you're a fat person, you do that thing, having that 7-course meal on Monday means that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're having a nice, reasonable meal. Saturday comes along, you're having another 5-course meal. All of a sudden, your overall calorie intake for the week was over, but you did well 5 or 6 days of the week. It just takes that one day to turn into a fucking dumpster. And it throws you off. That woman's probably doing something like that. God bless her, but you have to correct these habits. You have to correct these fucking habits, bro. It's hard. It's hard, but you got to do it.
A certain set point.
A set point, says Dr. Stanford, is a range of weight your brain is in charge of maintaining by controlling how much food you eat and how much of it you store. One theory is that it's an evolutionary survival mechanism that helped retain fat during famines.
Okay.
So we had COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Lots and lots of people gained weight.
Because they were depressed and staying inside all day.
Do those people have a new set point that's higher now?
Absolutely.
Even if they do, what she's saying is just not how the world works. I'm just letting you know that. Okay.
So when you have a chronic stressor and you get to a certain weight and maintain that weight for, let's say, at least 3 to 6 months, then you recalibrate that set point to a different set point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems a little sussy what they're talking about.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.